This week on w.r.a.c, we are introducing Mysteries of the Job Market, our brand new series where we dive into some of the most bizarre, awkward, and downright insane job-related experiences. Buckle up as we count down from the craziest to the most insane interview stories we've ever heard. In my quest for a second job to help pay down some debt, I decided to stick to familiar territory: coffee and food. I applied at a new coffee shop that was just opening and, to my surprise, received a call the next day for an interview. When I arrived, I saw two men, the owner of the entire block and the manager, shaking hands with another guy. They greeted me and escorted me outside, resume in hand, leading me to a table. They began asking me questions, but it quickly became clear they weren't paying attention. The owner was nervously rocking in his chair, whistling nonchalantly, while the manager avoided making eye contact. Realizing what was happening, I finally asked, "You hired that guy before me, didn't you?" Their silence confirmed my suspicion. Frustrated, I got up and left. It was an incredibly awkward experience, and I wish they had just been upfront with me instead of wasting my time. Ironically, the coffee shop only lasted 6 months. I was applying for a job as an educational aide at a preschool for kids with developmental disabilities. Before the interview, I ate a bagel to calm my nerves. The lead teacher took me around the playground and various classrooms. As we reached the older classroom, I began to feel dizzy. The next thing I knew, I was laid out on one of the nap mats, having passed out likely due to low blood sugar. The lead teacher gave me a cup of juice and a snack. I thought there was no way I would get the job, but a few days later, I received an offer. Later, I asked the teacher why she hired me. She explained that after I came to and had some juice and food, I looked at her and said, "So, tell me more about your program," and asked insightful questions. She said that anyone who can keep their composure through something like that has what it takes to work with special needs kids. I was interviewing for a teaching position at an elementary school, and the interview seemed to be going well. The principal and I were having an engaging conversation when, to my astonishment, he fell asleep mid-interview. I sat there, stunned, expecting him to wake up and say, "Just kidding." Instead, he woke up after about a minute, but never acknowledged what had happened. He quickly wrapped up the interview and, surprisingly, they offered me the job. However, before I could accept, they rescinded the offer without any warning or explanation. In hindsight, it turned out to be a blessing, as I naively would have taken the job. A few years ago, I desperately needed to escape a toxic job and find something better paying and closer to home. I saw a job posting for a front desk position at a local hotel and decided to apply. I eventually got a call and scheduled an interview. I arrived a bit early, professionally dressed, with a notebook for my own questions and a copy of my resume, trying to make a good first impression. I went to the front desk and informed the young lady there about my interview. She told me to take a seat in the lobby. I waited and waited until it was about 10 to 15 minutes after the interview was supposed to begin. This was a pretty big red flag, but I was desperate, so I stuck it out. Finally, the manager, a flustered-looking woman, came out and introduced herself. About 5 minutes in, she asked, "So, what's your availability like?" I replied, "Well, I can do Sunday evenings, just not mornings because of church, and I have time commitments on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, but I'm completely available the rest of the week." She cut me off. "Oh, I'm afraid that won't work. I need people with open availability, who I can call anytime if I need them to cover." "Oh," I said. She continued, "I'm afraid there's no point in continuing this interview, then." After a few seconds of awkward silence, I said, "Well, thank you for the opportunity anyway." "Yep, sorry it didn't work out," she replied. Talking with my best friend later reassured me that there's nothing wrong with expecting a potential boss to understand that I have a life outside of work. There is a happy conclusion, though. I eventually found a better job closer to home that respected my availability. Interestingly, I noticed that the hotel job was reposted multiple times over the following year. It seems the manager still hasn't found the always at her beck and call yes man she wanted. I'll start with a recent experience. I had a phone interview that went incredibly well. The owner said all the right things, and the job description matched my skills perfectly. We scheduled an in-person interview for the following Friday. I showed up on time, met with the owner, and toured the plant and offices. He started mentioning mandatory travel and additional responsibilities that hadn't been discussed on the phone, but overall, things were still going okay. He then sat me down in a conference room and said the person who would be my manager would join us shortly. About 5 minutes later, the manager walked in looking haggard and plopped down across from me. We spent 20 minutes with him mostly explaining how the owner had misrepresented the job, describing it as grueling with 60+ hours of work per week and no time to improve their processes. This didn't completely turn me off until he mentioned other issues, making it clear he was the reason for the backlog and lack of innovation. I suggested a program that could help keep track of revisions and orders, but he dismissed it, saying, "I don't care if you can make pretty pictures or any of that. I need someone to make 40 drawings a day, whether you're using a $6,000 program or stone and chisel." I had to stop my jaw from dropping. On top of all that, the owner randomly burst back into the meeting, telling me he needed me to leave because he forgot about their company Christmas lunch and needed to give a speech. He ushered me out halfway through the interview, locked the door behind me, and I had to wait 10 minutes while the entire company left because no one wanted to let me out of the guest parking spot. The owner still thought things had gone well and sent me an offer letter. Accepting would mean giving up 3 weeks of vacation, unlimited personal time, within reason, an office, the ability to play music or YouTube, and the authority to fix processes as needed. When I declined, he was surprised and asked what turned me off from the position. I replied that he and the manager needed to have a heart-to-heart real soon. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through some of the weirdest job interviews out there. We hope these stories have brought a smile to your face and maybe even made you feel a bit better about your own job-seeking adventures. At Wrights Resumes and Connections, we're dedicated to helping you navigate the job market, whether it's through resume writing, interview preparation, or building your professional network. We've already trained over 1,000 students in our free internship program. Help us support 1,000 more by subscribing and joining our community today. Our goal is to support you every step of the way. Stay tuned for more episodes in our Mysteries of the Job Market series, where we'll continue to share the most unbelievable experiences. Your support helps us continue providing internships globally to those who need experience and assists us in opening a location for students, staff, and learners to gain real-world experience. Together, we can turn even the strangest situations into opportunities for growth and success. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.